What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
What kind of ignorant shit is that?
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
You idiot, you fool!
Hey, dummy!
This is the Ignorance is Blessed podcast.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Hey, idiots! Welcome back to Ignorance is Blessed, the podcast that attempts to overcome ignorance, mostly by asking ignorant questions. With me, Jessica Michelle Singleton. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm an idiot about a lot of stuff. I want to not be. I like to think that I'm smart, but there's so much I don't know, and that's why we're here, to learn and to laugh at my stupid questions. If you're new to the podcast, thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe, rate it, and review it on iTunes. It helps other people find it. Honestly, it just makes me feel good to read your ratings. I share them on my Instagram stories. And I love it. Thank you so much to everyone who has newly subscribed and reviewed. Shout out to my best idiots forever on Patreon. And to everyone, I am so sorry that there haven't been episodes in a couple weeks. Trying to get this Dumb With stuff off the ground has been so fun. It's a new comedy channel I'm launching with my best friend and former guest of the show and one of the directors of my one-woman show, Codependent Rising, Buddy Hutton. But it's just been, I mean, we're basically both doing 8 people's jobs for no money getting it off the ground. So I apologize that I've let this slip. I'm trying to get back on it. I've made some changes to the Patreon in my head. I have not put them on the actual Patreon. But here's what's going to go on. I talked about it in the Facebook group. If you want to get involved in more of the conversation about the podcast guests, you can post ignorant questions about our guests or other things, suggest other guests, just get into conversations. It's a good place for discourse. Maybe you'll find someone who you can have a conversation with who maybe has a different viewpoint than you, and you guys can learn together in a way that is productive instead of destructive. Wow, what am I? Tony Robbins? Probably not. But my teeth look great. I went to the dentist. It was a whole thing. So here's what I'm thinking. Because I don't have time already. You guys can see that. So I was like, I gotta switch up the live stream stuff. And I've just been feeling like weird and stressed out about it because of all the like horror stories in the news about micro-influencers being murdered. So I'm like, well, I know I have a good group of fans right now, but like, what if a crazy person comes in? I don't know. Is this too much? So I posted in the group and got some suggestions and started stewing over it with a couple of friends. And here's what I'm thinking. The base levels stay the same all the way up to the postcard level, which is $10. For $10 a month, you get a postcard from me every month. Did everyone get theirs last month? I dropped it off at a new post office, and I don't know. Tag me, yell at me if you didn't get one for July. I still need to send them for August. Those might come in a little late because I'm flying to Austin for a bachelorette party at the end of this month, so I'm thinking Austin postcards. And yeah, so $25 and up is going to change. $25 and up, I'm going to offer a certain amount of free tickets to shows and like an annual piece of merch. For the $50 level, which is my top tier level, I'm going to offer more free tickets to more shows and a VIP package, one per year, where your drinks, food, etc. will be covered. And those will be also transferable to friends if you have someone you want to send to a show of mine. And also transferable to Comedy Store shows, whether or not I'm on them. So if you are in Los Angeles and you want to see me at the Comedy Store as one of your choices of tickets, or if you're in Los Angeles and I'm not in Los Angeles because I'm on the road, and you're like, okay, but fucking Whitney Cummings and Joe Rogan and Sebastian and Nick Kroll and Neil Brennan are all on a lineup and I want to fucking see that show, holy shit, and it's sold out, I got you. If you're at my $50 Patreon level, I will get you in there on my free guest list because I have pull at the Comedy Store. So I can do that for you. And the $50 level, if you're at that level, which is only 2 people, you've noticed that I am very bad at sending packages. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of trying to send one thing a month, I'm gonna move to a like FabFitFun style subscription box. So every quarterly, so 4 times a year, I'm going to send you like a care package instead of just one thing. It'll have at least one piece of Ignorance is Blessed merch, a JMS comedy merch, and then what I'm gonna do is create a little survey to get a feel for what your favorite things are, so I can customize the box. But then also just fucking maybe I put some weird shit in there that I think is funny, like a penis whistle or whatever that I see somewhere because I'm a child. So yeah, go on subscription box, and I want to eventually customize those so that I have cool, pretty boxes. But don't expect that for the first few, which I'm going to start packaging. I guess what the first box will be ASAP, because I owe you guys stuff anyways, and I've been sitting on it. So I will get the possibly poorly designed coffee cups. You'll determine that for yourself. Obviously, they're clearly poorly designed, if I'm saying that. And some other cool stuff. I'll get those surveys out to you guys so I can kind of gauge some fun stuff. You can throw in extra random, maybe like if there's a question I don't ask, be like, I'm also really nerdy about fucking Insane Clown Posse or whatever. If you're just like a juggalo on the low or on the high, you can let me know in that, and I will just keep an eye out for cool stuff that I'm like, oh, this person will really like that, because I really think of you guys as like friends, and I am so appreciative of all the support. But like at that level, it's like, dude, you're fucking part of the reason I stay afloat. So thank you. Couldn't do it without you. I know I need to get this episode started, but really quick, I want to bounce back to the Meyrowitz stuff. For those of you who don't know, I am starting a comedy, what's going to be a whole comedy like channel, sort of, and it'll be, we've been doing a lot of stuff on Twitch. We're probably going to expand from there and maybe have some online series elsewhere, try to put some content directly just on Instagram, but we're growing it, and you can follow at dumb_wits on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram's got some cool clips of videos. We also have a Facebook page, Dumbwits, DUMBWITS. Just look for the pink font with a little light bulb above it. But we've been doing some cool stuff. We just kicked off our second show, Slob Ross, which is a live painting show where I get drunk with an artist, an actual, visual artist, painter, drawer, and we try to paint along to an episode of Bob Ross while being heckled by Buddy Hutton, who is the behind-the-desk producer. Also, Buddy and I are both in Bob Ross costumes. It's a fucking hell of a time. We just kicked it off this week with Brady Matthews, and next week we have Andy Warren, who is the drummer for the Mowgli's, but also does these awesome pop culture mashup drawings just as a side thing. So he's going to come on. We're having extra dry martinis because I made the mistake of asking the guests what kind of drinks they like, and but I'm going to try. You guys are going to see if you tune into the stream. I may be like, yeah, no, like I had a sip. We get it. I'm switching to LaCroix and vodka because fuck you. But yeah, it was so fun. We're trying to get a monitor set up so that I can easily see the chat better, because the interaction on that was a little low because my phone kept locking, which I thought was weird with the Twitch app. It doesn't seem to usually do that, but for some reason I was having an error, and my hands were covered in paint. So at some point I was like, well, I'm just gonna have to rely on whatever Buddy says, and Buddy can't read the chat the whole time because he's running around keeping the cameras afloat. It's a 2-man band for something that should be like Buddy's worked on several live stream series, and he said to me that he's like, everywhere, like he worked in Yahoo Esports, and he's like, we had like a 20-person team, and you and I are running this, and he is the only one who knows the tech side. So he's an absolute like angel, and the only reason any of the shows get off the ground. But it is a balancing act right now. And then Wednesdays from 4 p.m. Pacific, and that's 7 p.m. Eastern, until 9 p.m. Pacific, just 5 hours. We do Twitch Makes a Movie, where we utilize suggestions from the viewers, and we were working out a new format to get you guys even more involved and make it a little more fun and playful on the actors' side, so it's more improv. Make a movie, and we're going to start. So we basically get suggestions for genre, topic, lines, and our actors have to act out what they've been given by the Twitch viewers. A couple patrons have been in there every week. Shout out to Gene and Eric. You guys are the fucking best number ones in there. And it's growing. It's a slow incline, but we see more viewers every week. And we're having so much fun with it. And we're going to start getting a little nerdier into the filming, a little of the tech side, to try to reach the audience of people who, really want to learn about filmmaking, learn about cameras. because there's a lot of those people on Twitch, and I feel like we both feel like we haven't been utilizing the knowledge we have and the equipment we have to reach those people. So it's a lot of fun. So if you're not familiar with Twitch, it's a website, it's an app for live streaming. A lot of it's video games, but they have talked about how they want to do different content. So what we're doing is, honestly, it's really innovative. It hasn't been done before. So that's why it's kind of all over the table, and I'm, maxed out on my time alive, just 100% done with. And that's, to be honest, part of the reason I have actively slowed down my road work is to really try to get this off the ground. So thank you to those of you who've been tuning in. It's a free app. So if you're like, I don't know, it seems weird, I don't know about it, I'm not trying to get you to sign up for another Netflix or whatever. Come on over, check it out. Download the Twitch app, twitch.tv/DUMBWITS. That's our channel. And I'll move on. This is the longest intro I've ever done. But we're going to get to our episode. This week's guest, Josh Meyrowitz. He is a wonderful human. He also happens to be on the autism spectrum. And that is what I interview him about. He gets very honest about it. He lets me ask real dumb questions. He talks about stigmas or things people say to him. Struggles, like how he had behavioral issues growing up and how he's dealt with them, and how little fears will just manifest in his mind. So a thing that's nothing will all of a sudden be a thing he obsesses over, and it's just very cool. He's got the sweetest heart on earth, and it was a joy having him. So enjoy this episode and check him out, Autistic Thunder on Twitter, and you can see him as a big part of the opening and throughout the live roast battle shows in Los Angeles. If you ever come, those are Tuesday nights at the Comedy Store. No more from me. Let's get to our episode. Josh Meyrowitz, living with having autism. I'm gonna find a better title. Here you go. Hey idiots! Welcome back to Ignorance is Blessed. I am here with my friend Joshua Meyrowitz. Thanks for joining me and us on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, let's just get into it. You guys, Joshua is a comedian with autism?
Yes.
Is that how I say that? Or on the autism spectrum?
It's one and the same. I'm high-functioning autistic. But they actually sort of, if I remember correctly, clarified it. The spectrum basically, if I remember what my doctor said recently, the spectrum basically exists, but first and foremost, it's one and the same basically. There's no exception, or I'm high-functioning autistic. I only really say Asperger's anymore just because most people don't know this, so might as well just write it, especially for jokes, because I talk about my twin brother and he's not autistic. I say I have Asperger's, but he's an asshole, So wording wise, but other than that, I'm high functioning autistic.
Okay. Well, let's just kind of dive into what that means, how that affects you, because I think that a lot of people here, if they've never met someone that is high functioning autistic, has Asperger's, or that they know, if they haven't been told that,
right?
I could see someone just going "Oh, that was different," or "What's going? I felt this is social interaction felt maybe like they were uncomfortable," or how does it affect you? Let's just start with social stuff.
Yeah. It's funny, for the most part, most people are because I'm usually the one that introduces it. I have my own anxiety and anxiousness and awkwardness, excuse me. And they're like, "Oh, if you didn't say anything, we would never know." Yeah. Yeah. And I have to tell you. Otherwise, because then it's like what you said. They may not realize it, but then it's oh, why is he so weird?
Or they're just did I make them? Well, because I think people hear the term autism
and they expect,
and they think this severe.
They expect Rain Man
gap of where you're gonna have some magic math thing. Or
I'm not Rain Man. I say on stage, I'm not Rain Man. I'm not even partly cloudy with a chance of Rain Man.
That's amazing. Well, there's a stigma that people who have autism have a thing that they're either really good at or hyper focused on. Yeah. Do you have hyper focuses, or have you as a child or anything?
I've only had the hyper focuses when like at least let me rephrase it. I only noticed them if I had them beforehand. Once I was like a full-on teenager, like late teenagers, even I want to say, because like then my hyper focuses were like, oh, Japanese animation and comic books, video games, movies, and pro wrestling. I'm a big pro wrestling nerd.
You just sound like other comedians.
Yeah, exactly. But the worst is everyone thinks, oh, but you gotta have, you're autistic. You have to have like something you're actually smart at. And I'm like, no, I'm all the stuff I know is unimportant.
Yeah, but do you know? This is just a dumb question. Do you know like a
It's
ton
all
of
dumb.
facts about pro wrestling? Do you know a lot of trivia or?
Basically, but I'm not. Even then, I have like a weirdly. It's only encyclopedic to a certain degree, but even then, I'm a fucking dunce. So.
Yeah. Do people ever frustrate you with that assumption, like that they think that you're gonna?
No, they since I mainly only have comedians as friends. It's all a bunch of joking that I'm like super smart about something when they know I'm not. so it's a very loving relationship. I'm very happy. Why did I become my mom for that? I know.
I know your impression of your mom is just.
I'm my mother's child. I can't help it. I'm a Joshua. You have a cookie face.
Oh my God.
She's very loving.
Just classic Jewish mother.
Oh, absolutely. Like, trust me, I do have an impression of my dad. It's not apt. It's okay. Let me reiterate. Not reiterate. Let me rephrase. It's apt to an extent. Meaning, when I do his voice, there's an energy and certain tone to it that's not hyperbolic, but what's it called?
Kind of like exaggerated.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
But it's mostly on point.
And you're like, but the mom thing, that is 100%. That is my mom.
So my dad would sound like, Linda, leave me alone. I worked all day. I made you a steak. Why you have to roll your eyes at me? They're very good, loving parents.
Oh my gosh, you're from
New Jersey originally.
Jersey,
First 14 years of my life.
Amazing, and they're still together.
Yeah. Because they have to. They. It's one of those things where they almost can't exist without each other, and because they have children, they want to. I have an older sister who, as of like a decade ago, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and it's better than her. So between me, even though I moved away, and her, they don't have a reason to divorce because they got to make sure we're okay. We got to make sure you're comfortable.
Oh, they just love you guys. I love that.
Yeah. My twin brother moved away, and they get very upset. He doesn't call us. He's very selfish. He's a good brother. He's always like, I don't want to go to Calabasas. So.
It's too far.
Yeah, he lives in Pasadena and has a wife. So.
Oh, the whole wife thing. That's where everyone with wives goes. I feel like Pasadena. They're like, that's suburb out.
Hipster valley.
Yeah, they're like they either go toward Calabasas or toward just out of the city.
Yeah. I hope I didn't talk over you or anything.
Oh, you're fine. I hope I'm trying not to interrupt because
the solidarity is real and I appreciate it. I just talked over you, my bad.
Oh my God, it's jump in at any time. Truly.
Much love. Thank you.
Of course. How old were you when you just said you live apart from your parents? How old were you when you moved away?
Well. Are you talking about when me and my family moved to California?
No, like when you
moved away from my parents
out of your parents' house.
3.5 years ago.
Yeah. Was that hard for you?
No. It was something. I mean, it's hard. I'm not lying. But I realized that you know what, it was a little hard because of the comfort of living with your family and having things there for you because. But like I moved in with other comedians, I'm in a comfortable situation, and I needed to get away from them. I love my parents, but like it was starting because it's a vicious cycle with me and them because their anxiety causes each other's anxiety, and I'm them more than my siblings are, so their anxiety causes mine, or vice versa. So it was a cycle, and I at 31 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm at a point with stand-up comedy. I'm not making any money, but I'm on disability.
Hard.
Oh yeah, I'm not in it for the money in the first place.
No one should be, by the way. If anyone's listening to this, like, I'm gonna go become a comedian and make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You're a moron. Like it's.
Yeah, my ultimate goal even is to be a road comic. I don't have any delusions. I have no illusions about myself. all I want to do is
Well, I
see
think
the
that's
world.
like a great that's a great goal. That was my goal. That's my goal.
Yeah, road comic, as long as I'm not a hacky road comic. You
Yeah.
know? Exactly.
Yeah, as long as you don't start, and that's like the challenge of. So it's good to come back to LA. Is like I don't want to end up pandering to some of the crowds that you see where it's easy to just get like, well, I'm just gonna give them what they want, and then you just get cornier and cornier, and you're like, what am I doing? I say this as someone who has humped a stool every night
this
this week.
Well, this one of the blessing. Oh, you humped a stool. Yeah, fucking hack.
Like, and I comment on it while I'm on stage. I'm like, this is my art. Like, I know it's very intellectual.
I luckily, because, and this is one of the few blessings of being autistic and performing stand-up, is I can only concentrate on myself anyway. I can't pander.
Yeah, you're like, I'm too busy like panicking about or talking about my own things.
Making sure I remember bits to use so I can fill out this hopeful 30 minutes to a 45. I don't even know if I have 45 yet. 10 years in, I know. I think I have
hard.
30. Yeah, people make it sound so easy when it is. I mean, I have a hard time writing in the first place. I have a hard time working on myself in general. Like, I'm so glad that you and everyone else in the comic community is so loving and accepting and like helpful. Like, trust me, you originally told me you wanted to have me on this podcast. Like, it had to be 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I know what I did.
I was like, wait, it hasn't been around that long, but it was a long time ago.
Not to toot my own horn, but I waited patiently because, like, I'm just happy. It's nice to be wanted. It's nice to do things with friends. I never would hold it against anyone. I try to check in or try and say something, but
never be afraid to check in general on shows and stuff, because that's a thing I think that we all get hung up on, and I've talked to a lot of comedians who...
I get scared. I don't want people...
I don't want to bother anybody.
I don't want to make them feel like I'm using them.
Yeah, but it's okay to have... occasional check-ins, and I think a lot of us struggle with that, and that took me a long time. I would never even ask for spots,
right?
And then somebody told me that, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll once a month sit down and reach out and ask people for spots and follow up, and I started getting more spots.
Jeff Ross, when I did his podcast, told me, oh, you gotta ask for spots. In the back of my mind, it's like, does that mean... even though I'm more than willing to accept rejection because that's part of the job anyways, does that mean, other than asking other people, is it okay to ask him? Because he's Jeff Ross.
You're
what?
So Jeff, do you have any spots?
Dude, even when I asked him because I'm trying to figure out how to be vulnerable on stage. I'm authentic on stage. I'm honest on stage, but I don't know how to be vulnerable.
Get to the deeper.
Like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm not particularly sharp. And stand up, I'm glad I've gotten as supposedly far as I've gotten. I think you're a
great joker. I think you are a very sharp joker.
Thank you. Likewise, I think you're a great comic in general.
Oh, I think so. Same. I mean, from the stuff I've seen of you, we haven't been on shows with you in a while because
it's my
fault.
So
many.
Too.
Well, there's so many places.
Self-sabotage.
I'm also gone a lot, and but.
That's why I get so happy when I see you. I become my mother. You're my baby. I worry.
Oh, I know, and that's the same thing. And even with the podcast, it's like I'm such the organizational side of doing anything besides stand-up, even stand-up, like the staying booked and stuff, I struggle with that. Oh. And so that's why I saw you, and I was like, yes, shit, we never did it, the podcast.
I didn't even have to mention it. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, no, of course. Thanks for doing it.
You're my friend.
Of course, yeah.
We just jerk each other up. No. I'm being
We're
silly.
the best. Yeah, you're like, don't me to me, listeners. Wow. So do you talk about, I know this, but like for listeners, like do you
absolutely talk about autism on stage
in your act? Yeah,
have to. Like I'm not a gimmick, but it invades every facet of my everyday life. Like I may be high functioning, but it doesn't lessen anything. It only makes me. Makes
you more aware of the fact that you're struggling with it.
Oh yeah. Like for years, everyone's been on me about, you over apologize, and they don't realize how stressful that is. But that's off stage. I mean, I try and figure out how to work that into the stand-up part too. But like when I'm on stage, it's all I can basically write about. I mean, I have other things I talk about. And it helps relate through the autism. Like I talk about sex. I talk about my hobbies. But like other than that, I mean, the whole thing with autism is it's a struggle to relate to people, like, because I can't read people that well. I'm surprised, like, thanks to everyone, I've been taught to sort of be able to look people in the eyes, but I've done so many sets, good and bad, as according to other people, where I don't look people in the eyes at all.
I was just going to ask you about that. So I guess that's a good thing to talk about. Kind of, if you were going to give, like, a semi-brief explanation of, if someone was like, what's autism? Like, they just have never, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the absence of relating, I guess.
Okay.
It's the absence of,
Or I guess how does it
it's
affect
absence
you?
of like filter. It's absence of just general catching on to the world around you.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen. I ain't classically autistic. I'm not banging my head against the wall and detaching a retinas. You know.
Yeah. Well, do you think that, like, is there, hypersensitivity attached to autism? Like,
me?
just
yes, I am very hypersensitive. My first like real encounter with Tony Hinchcliffe was him teasing me to tears.
Oh,
Like,
well, that's
became
probably a
friends
lot of interactions with Tony Hinchcliffe.
but we became friends out of it. But like even to this day, he does not make it easy.
No, he has his
I
own
talk
unique.
I talk about him on every podcast because he's become like a linchpin in my own psyche.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Like he's not a bad friend, but he's a bad friend.
Yeah, no, I'm friends with Tony, and people will bring him up, and they have a variety of opinions, and I just go, oh, Tony.
Like if I'm honest about everything. So if he's like hears me on multiple podcasts saying, "Oh, you're talking shit about me," I'm like, I'm not so much talking shit as if I'm being honest about something that invades my mind.
Yeah, you exist in my mind. I think
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's, sometimes I'm like, is that his goal, to just
Just
get in everyone's brain?
Oh, it certainly does not help because it's only made me more touchy about my own things in my brain and how I interact with people. Granted, even without him, I would have been like this, just in a different form.
Fuck you, Tony.
I ain't saying that. I don't suck up to anyone, so it's not. I don't want anything from anyone other than the same humanity and dignity I would want everyone should have.
Oh, of course, which is what you deserve.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like people treat you differently because of the autism?
I'm very fearful of being patronized.
Yeah, I was
patronized.
just gonna, I still don't really know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
fucked that up all the. What is it like?
I don't patronize.
I have to sing that song because
Is that a Gaga song? I don't know.
no, it's I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt.
Ah.
She either says, now I don't even know what she says. Patronize or patronize.
Yes,
We get what you mean.
You're recording this with a guy wearing a Pantera shirt. So. Oh no, but I listen to I have a couple Madonna tracks on my MP3 player.
That's
I'm
amazing.
open. I'm open to all kinds of shit as long as it's mainly her late '90s stuff because I like that house music sound.
Oh,
And
what
she
was
mainly-
that one song that was
Nothing.
a hit?
There's nothing ever matters. Ray of Light.
Oh, Ray of Light is what I was singing.
Ray of light, she's falling. Oh yeah, and I have other like what guys would say girly songs, and I also have like guilty pleasures like fucking Limp Bizkit.
I mean, we all have our.
Exactly. Like I like all kinds of music, but it all forms mainly around rock, some hip hop, rock, punk, and metal. So
Oh wow.
yeah, but I like stuff I like older stuff.
I love classic rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People should be allowed to like what they're like without people going, "You gay?" I'm like, maybe.
You're like, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
There's nothing
I can
wrong
be
with-
gay and like Pantera.
Exactly. I'm sure there's plenty of.
Yeah, there probably are.
I'm constantly trying to figure out if I'm LGBTQ+. Here's the thing. I recognize the attractiveness of men, but I don't get attracted to them.
Like you can go, oh, that is like someone who, according to social standards, is like, quote, hot.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
But
But you don't go like, oh yeah, look at those.
Yeah, I don't want my dick
Look at
doesn't
those
get
guns.
hard. Like I could kiss a dude and not get a hard dick. But like
You could not kiss any woman and not get a hard.
Oh,
dick.
dude. No,
You just be like, boy, oi, 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 oi,
dude,
like a
when
wolf.
I kiss a woman, I pre-cum a little even. No joke. No, I'm not even joking with that. Like.
Well, at least you're honest.
Exactly. Like it gets better.
Well, sexuality is also a spectrum. So that's what they say is that very rarely is anyone 100% hetero or homosexual.
Right.
A lot of people lean one direction very heavily.
Yeah.
But there's like a tiny, but it's that, you know, so you can go like, okay, that's a hot lady. I can say that's a hot lady. You go, that's a hot dude.
Yeah. Well, like I've pre-cum so much when it comes, like, yeah. Well, I when I've asked a girl out and she says yes,
you're like, ha!
I mean, I'm not going. I'm not. It's just, hey, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Little Magua dog.
My roommate just walked in. Buddy Hutton is here.
He's got a little Magua dog.
Are you cool that he's here?
Oh, I'm very upset. No. Here's the thing. I'm an open book. I don't care who hears what.
It's gonna go out on the podcast anyway.
Exactly. One time I was talking about Tony, and he was behind me, and he's like, "Oh, you talking shit?" And I'm like, "No, I would have said this whether you were to the side of me."
Yeah. Also, Tony loves it. He's people are talking about me.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm an open book. The only things I can't tell are the common sensible stuff. Like I can't lie basically. The only lies I can tell ultimately are common sensible white lies.
Oh, have you ever tried to lie and then be like, I'm sorry, that was a lie?
When I was younger, it's more also the autism leaves me unfiltered and tactless, basically. But as an adult human being,
that's a great name for a special, tactless.
Yeah. But as an adult human being, I decided to not lie.
Yeah.
So it's all, there's a conscious to it. Thankfully, being high functioning. That's why I'm also oddly extroverted. Yeah. But like when I was a kid, of course I lied
little lies you tell like your parents, where you're like, I don't get in trouble, or like that kind of thing.
Basically, I mean, I told flat out lies when I was younger, but because I didn't know better.
Yeah.
That was a combination of autism and being a kid
and being a child. Yeah.
Exactly. But as I grew up and gained some form of maturity, I'm a comedian. I'm still a
We're
man
children.
Child.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I like to think I'm the good kind of man child. I don't put my problems on others. I'm not gross or weird in a bad or weird in a bad way.
It's just like silly and fun and
exactly. Like I have an imagination basically. So like, but like I'm not an incel. I'm not gross towards anyone. I don't have any bad beliefs other than okay.
It'd be funny if right there you just spouted out something horrifying.
Well,
like
that's what
than it's just like a crazy racist sin, and it's like, okay.
Well, I was actually literally gonna say I've had this conversation with people. I've realized and I do it unconsciously. I stare at people.
Oh.
Like or like because I'm autistic, I get socially awkward and I stare anyone in the core in their body. But because I'm like 6'3", when it comes to women,
it's like looming.
I look like between that and I looking at the core, so I'm basically always looking at their cleavage. And, even though I am a boob guy, but even then, like I'm not a monster. I'm not trying to make them feel uncomfortable or be a creep.
It's just like sort of the direction you look at all people and like.
Yeah, because it's hard for me. I've gotten better at it, but it's hard to look people in the eyes ultimately.
Is that something you had to actively work on?
I mean, I still do, but like it's something, once again, it's unconscious. As someone, part of the autism is getting stuck in your head, in your own world.
Yeah.
So, but also, I'm admittedly a bit of a voyeur. I'm not I'm not a peeping Tom.
Anyways, before this, I was looking at your neighbor's window.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not that, but like, there have been times where I'm just full on staring at a woman's cleavage from afar, whether I'm thinking about it or not. But like, I'm not thinking, oh, she's a slut. Why is she dressed like that? She dressed that way for me. I'm not.
You're like a creep. You're just like, hey, she's hot.
Basically.
You ever get caught checking out a girl and then go, I'm sorry, I'm autistic, and then run?
I don't. Maybe once, maybe.
Okay, that's
but
you're
like,
a good person.
I don't lie. Like I'm not saying it to get away with something.
Of course.
I trust me.
He passed the test, you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Just kidding.
No, trust me. I have agita about it all the time. About like, was I rude to this person? Was I gross to this woman? Because I've been.
Do you like hyper focus on it?
Oh,
after
absolutely,
interactions?
absolutely. When I get home, I'm just in my thoughts about even I have anxiety attacks over situations that didn't happen at all, just a scenario of them, because like I'm not. Even before Me Too, I was like this, where I was just like constantly worrying if I was doing people wrong, being a bad person to them. Because,
did I make you uncomfortable? Did you say something? Yeah.
Like, I rather over apologize than not give a fuck. I rather give all the fucks than not give a fuck. Because like my ebb and flow is caring about what other people think, and I understand that can be a bad thing in itself. But I have to do it, otherwise then I'm a monster. I have the worst self-image of myself.
Oh, no.
I have low self-esteem. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, I think just a lot of comedians in general kind of struggle with that. And then I don't know if like the autism on top of that.
I say on stage it's like I was born with 2 disabilities, autism and Judaism. So
That's so funny. Yeah, how much of the anxiety do you think is from each?
I mean, my mom.
I'm saying that as a Jewish person who's like, I know Jewish anxiety. Like,
well, my mom is supposedly the one that has autism. We don't know if it's a transferable thing. But she's not diagnosed or anything. I'm diagnosed. But like I say, by the way, about comedians, all comedians are autistic or worse. They just haven't been diagnosed, except for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I've heard people say that too, and maybe it's like paraphrasing from having heard you say it on stage. But so many people I know are like, yeah, I like so many people are like, yeah, we're all on the spectrum, and then it's like,
or we're all fucked up. Period.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
yeah.
But and then you hang out with comedians long enough, and then you start like. At least for me.
Right.
Forgetting
all
that,
I have is comedians, basically.
Like, in my mind, like, I just get very like, well, the whole world's fucked up. And then I'm kind of like, wait, is it? Or do I just hang out with so many comedians? It feels that way. Like, are there people who are just normal?
Right.
But, I mean, everyone's got quirks. But
right. I hold myself accountable if someone has a problem with me about staring or... like they think I'm being voyeuristic, I would ante up to it. I'm not someone who wants to hide from my problems, but I want to make. In fact, I want to make, to an irrational degree, make things right.
Yeah.
I don't like. I know not everyone's gonna like me. That's human nature. But I don't want people to come away thinking, oh, he's a bad person.
Yeah.
That's my irrational, at least, thought.
I mean, yeah, I can't imagine anyone coming away from an interaction with you and being like, what a bad guy. But. Yeah. You know, when you have those fears in your head and like you said, when it's your tendency and it causes you to kind of like get in your head, it's easy to cycle about stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm grateful everyone tries to help me with the over apologizing and everything, but it might very well be a crapshoot. Like, I work on things, though. I've gotten better in certain ways. Yeah.
What are some things that you feel like you've worked on and seen improvements? And has that helped your like self-esteem, self-confidence?
Right. Well, one thing was shout out to Coach T of Roast Battle. He's the DJ, and he used to work in special ed, and I worked with him a bunch because of Roast Battle. And he, whether on this or when I did the Roast Battle podcast, Verbal Violence,
check it out.
They taught, yeah. Sorry, again, it's
plug.
Gotta represent
absolutely
Roast Battle. You know.
Yeah.
So, Coach T basically taught me how to figure out not to say can't, like I can't stop apologizing or anything. And sometimes it just takes a word for me to be able to articulate better. Like in this case, it was to say struggle instead of can't.
Yeah, well, because I mean, it's the same as when people, how you label yourself when you have a diagnosis with certain disorders too, where it's like, then you're almost subconsciously repeating that story to yourself and remaking it. So it's like repeating that you can't.
Right.
Whereas like not the same thing at all with like a disorder going like, I have this versus I am this sometimes.
Right.
It really can affect your psyche to where you start inadvertently summing yourself up by, this is all I am is this one diagnosis versus like, yes, I have it. It's a huge part of my existence and who I am. But I exist within that and in other ways. And
that particular area is very complicated for me. Like, I'm a perfectionist, but I forgot what I was going to say. I'm a perfectionist, but I'm also a realist.
Yeah.
So like, there are still things I say, even if there's a possibility that I can improve. There are certain things where I say I can't because it feels like, it is put out there in my mind, my own psyche, that it's hard to move forward. I've gotten better by saying I struggle with this because all I want to do in life is to articulate better so people understand me.
Yeah, you want to be understood.
This also comes, so I've had conversations with people. They say you are not your diagnosis. I understand that.
Oh, by the way, I have literally done this to him, and I tried to say this in a different way years ago on a podcast, and I don't know if you remember this, but
No.
I walked away, and for like weeks, I was like, did it sound like I was saying that you're not autistic? Because it was like
Right.
festering in my brain. I was like, that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to probably say something that's also condescending.
Sounds like you're autistic, Jessica.
I mean, I'll never get a diagnosis.
To each his own. I needed it for my medication, so 10 pills a day and a dick joke, whatever works.
Oh my gosh, 10
Comedy.
pills a day. Wait, like let's back up
Oh,
to
okay.
the
We'll
you're
get
not your
back to the-
diagnosis.
yeah.
But I'm gonna write that down because that's very interesting to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so people saying, yeah, how does that make you feel? Or let's examine
Well,
it, like
where
when
we're
people
going-
go, that's not you're
You are
not your diagnosis.
Yeah. Quincy Jones, the guy who got cancer, the comedian,
Which is so different than autism.
exactly. But it's also a different situation.
We're
like
not writing down
if
cancer.
if I was, that's a literally terminal situation. I would find out.
Allegedly. I'm just kidding,
Oh,
Quincy.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Thank
We
God
love-
he's still with us. We love you.
Exactly, but that's something you would want to fight out of. And granted, I've tried to fight my autism too, but he was in a situation where we're like, yeah, you gotta fight. You gotta fight to literally live.
When it's like you have to have that mindset of I can get out of this, you know?
Exactly. With me, people don't know the backstory when they say you are not your diagnosis. First 14 years of my life, I was misdiagnosed with ADD and given medication according to that, and that fucked me up further.
Do you think that like for life made you worse?
It's a possibility that it had effects because of medication. It affects your. It's the whole point is it affects your chemistry.
Yeah.
So once I was misdiagnosed, even then we tried several. I have one of the best doctors at UCLA Medical, thankfully, but even he had like to try stuff out to see what works. So it took a long time before we got to 10 pills a day. So I have to say no. I am my diagnosis. This is not something negotiable, at least at this point, because it's not something. I'm not trying to use it as an illegitimate excuse.
But it's and it's like you're like, okay, I'm more than just
I know I
the
have
comedian with
more.
autism, but it's like, but this is every day. Like this is a part of who I am.
Exactly. I can't help but relate and identify through this. Like I'm
When
not
it's probably more productive, I imagine to. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good.
To work from a place of accepting that and
Right.
living with it versus trying to go no. Like sometimes it's easier to do that and makes more sense than to try to pretend this thing that is constantly affecting so much of your daily life
Right.
isn't part of your daily life, if that makes sense.
I talk about my autism all the time because once again, it's a place I relate from. It's my where my mind is at without me having any other say. Like I know I have more than just that. Not disabilities. I have more in my life and my mind than just that. But at the same time, like I can't not say I'm autistic.
Yeah, you're like it's part of me.
Exactly.
That comes with the Josh package.
Yeah, I'm not using it. I'm not trying to get anything out of it. I'm just trying to articulate to you. So I am my diagnosis, and like I can be more, but I'm also my diagnosis.
You're like, but that's parts like
So
it is who I am. Like
exactly. I'm not doing it once again to like
of course
gimmick it or anything. Not even comedy in general. Like I know I say, I when I'm out and about, I feel anxious. I mean, one of the main facets of autism is anxiety.
Yeah.
So I feel I'm pushed by myself to talk about it as well.
Yeah.
Like because I'm my perception of the world, and I do, as my doctor has diagnosed, a perceptual impairment. So
how you perceive what's going on isn't necessarily what's really going on.
exactly. My brain. Not literally, but it's if you get what I mean, it spins in place. My perception of the world is so intense.
I get what you mean.
Exactly. I'm so scared of being some kind of bad person. Like, so going back, that conversation about being a voyeur, but like I'm not Like I'll admit one of the major reasons I have an Instagram is to look at women's cleavage on Instagram. But I'm
I'm here to check out ladies.
But I'm not a bad person. I'm not a gross person. I'm not typing on gross comments like "ooh, sexy lady,
boobies." Yeah.
Here's my phone number. Fuck me, as if that works. Like
I know, God. It's always like, has leaving this comment ever helped you, sir? Is all I think when I see those.
Exactly. Like I'm far more desperate for a romantic relationship with a woman than to fuck. Like,
yeah. Do you think has that been a struggle for you?
Yes.
Do you think that autism makes that a little bit of an extra struggle, or
absolutely?
Just, yeah.
Because I'll go to dinner on a date or lunch on a date, and I'll talk as much as everyone always says to me, don't talk more than the woman, because that's not good dating manner or something. But I can't help it. I like to talk. I'm not. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm trying to consciously also make sure I don't talk more to a woman. Not because I want to hear what they have to say. It's not all about me. I don't think the world revolves around me. I want to hear. I want to get to know them.
Yeah.
Like that's why I recognize why I'm dating someone. I'm not trying to get laid. I'm not like
you want to build like a whole thing.
Exactly.
A whole relationship.
So I think you're supposed to like have a mutual amount of conversation
to learn about each other.
Exactly. But I guess I'm still fucking up. I don't blame anyone. Once again, I'm all about accountability. I know it's my fault. And
it's just hard. Human interaction, finding that balance. Look at that. I just interrupted you. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're all good. Trust me. Know what I think back to? Okay. This is with me, you and I. Okay. I used to, back in the very beginning when around like the first year we met.
Yeah.
You were doing a stand-up set and you were talking about like, how come no one will have sex with me or something on your stand-up set.
Boy, have I changed my stand-up set.
Yeah. Something along the lines of that.
I mean, it was definitely everything I do is sexual.
It was either that or it was off stage in like the green room of the belly room and you were talking about it. And I basically said, and I hope I wasn't gross about it at the time. We're like, I'd have sex with you, but I didn't realize that it was one of those things. Like, just because you're saying it doesn't mean you're just hunting for death.
Yeah, no, it's so funny because like I think you even sent me a message after that, and you were like, I hope I wasn't trying to be. Well, no, but I was like, oh, I had forgotten, and then I was like,
this was
dude,
like 8 years ago, so
no big deal. But like, a lot of people do that because my sex stuff is so like my material is so sex heavy because that's what I think about. So that's what I talk about. Like I don't try to be, I never set out with a gimmick to be like, I'm going to be dirty. It's just what my brain thinks about. So that's what I make jokes about.
Exactly.
But you are not unique in having said that to the point that I now have a joke when I talk about sex or like when I'm like, yeah, I just like want to have more sex. Like within the joke where I have to go, by the way, like I know I can have sex. You guys don't have to come up to me and be like, I'll save you. Like after the show. Like, because so many men, and I think it's just cultural, like men hear a woman go like sex and then, and the joke is that they're like, did she just say she'll fuck all of us? Yeah. Like, but it's just so funny how that happens.
Plenty of comedians have material about, male comedians too, about like Neil Brett has a thing where he's like,
like he's the used dick salesman.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they exactly like they have dick for sale, like as if the woman will accept that. Them.
Just like,
exactly. But I don't think I'm an attractive person anyway. So, but not to sound like that's like fishing or something.
Nonsense. You're a very nice looking man.
Yes. One day I'll find someone who likes me romantically.
It's a struggle in general, and I don't want to be dismissive of the extra thing. In LA, I will say this for everyone I know, it's a fucking nightmare. And then I'm sure having the autism on top of it maybe adds to at least the anxiety about putting yourself out there, meeting the right person.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if I've already said this on podcast. I certainly said it before the podcast. Like, I try to date other comedians because I like the idea of going out with someone you're already friends with.
Yeah.
I can get past the whole, but you're working the same job, because, like, I'm not trying to end things in the way where I would, if you like or love someone, this is my perception of things. If you like or love someone, even if it doesn't romantically work out or sexually even, like, it would be harsh to not make them feel comfortable to be in the same building or same work environment. I can't imagine doing that to someone. That's horrible.
Well, I will say,
I know there's a lot of, most people have that.
well,
Have
and here's the thing.
experienced that.
I don't have any things. I have several breakups. Anybody who knows me even a little well knows I've dated multiple comedians. And I will say, I don't have any, in my opinion, like malicious breakups
Right.
with people who I really loved or liked, where it's like there's animosity when we're in the
Right.
same room. But I do think there is, when you like really start to open up to someone and you love them and then it doesn't work, especially if you're on the receiving end of the breakup, I think you can get to a point where you like get along with them, but there is sometimes it hurts forever, or like for a really long time where you're like, there is some sort of, you can be cordial, but you can't still be friends with them. And that's hard for some people. I mean, I had one ex-boyfriend who wouldn't talk to me for years.
Oh yeah, I crush on everyone, and I've asked so many female comedians or women in the comedy community out, and always say, let's just be friends. And you know what? That's perfectly fine, because the whole reason I ask is because they're my friend.
Yeah, and you're like, I would like to date someone I'm friends with.
Exactly. Or in general relate to.
Yeah.
Like so like I never hold it against women. I don't think. It's funny. Thanks to the internet, I know not to be a gross person. So no woman, no person, let alone women, owes me anything.
Yeah.
I'm. By the way, whenever I say this kind of stuff, I always get scared of the whole, oh, he's trying to be woke. Woke at this point feels very fake to me.
When you're trying to make it your brand, it's like, okay, what are you hiding?
Exactly. I say
Straight white men who call yourself feminists, I don't trust you.
Exactly. I have called myself.
Well, I mean, who are loudly like, and all straight white men are garbage. It's like, okay, what did you do?
Yeah, exactly. Trust me, I've had like dates or hookups where to this day I'm like, wait, was I a monstrous? Did I do something gross that's gonna like come back to me and I didn't realize it? I just want to be a common sensible good person.
Yeah.
So these things I genuinely believe in, because this is what good people do.
Yeah.
Like to not harm others.
But I think they're things you genuinely believe in. So, in my opinion, I think you're gonna be fine. But I get that you have that anxiety about it.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, I've done so many, not what we were just talking about or anything, but I've done so many podcasts, especially as of late, where I've talked about, when it comes to autism, the same, like jokes, the same. And
I was going to bring that up.
I can't fault or not answer it because I have so many, I've posted on my Instagram, and I'm like, I wonder if people who have listen to other podcasts, be like, oh, he's fucking talking about the same thing again. It's the same jokes. It's the same repetition. You know, I can't blame them, but it's just I feel stagnant in that way a lot about my comedy. Like, he's not evolving at all. He's not naturally funny. Like, this is at least obviously my own antagonizing to myself.
Oh, I think you're really funny. When I think a lot of
Likewise.
The part of podcast is like a big part of it that I enjoy when I'm a guest on podcasts is that new people discover you. So even though it feels, it's the same as, it's not the same, but
I'm always up.
Doing the same when you're like working on one specific set and you do it enough times around town, you start to feel like, is everyone just like, this person's doing these jokes again? But then remembering like the actual crowd members, the likelihood that like until you're like big and famous, it's like these people haven't seen this. This is new to them.
Right. I have had situations where I didn't get booked on the same show as much as I had before because it was because they were trying to have like less comedians on the same show or anything.
Yeah, but just diversifying and adding new people in. Exactly,
but in my head, I was scared is because he's unfunny because he never really changes it up. I just, once again, these are paranoid scenarios.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I also want people to criticize me because I never really know if I did good or bad. I can recognize when people laugh at my jokes, but even then, it doesn't feel right to say, "Oh, I'm a good comedian." I could say I'm a good comedian because other comedians say that are trustworthy in their respect and opinion say I'm a good comedian.
Yeah, like they wouldn't just tell you that for no reason.
Exactly.
Which is, by the way, as a comedian, is so good to have around you. Is comics that like, I don't
Be
want
honest with
someone who will tell me good set when it's not a good set. Like
exactly same.
when I'm like, fuck you. Like,
Although there is a conundrum. A lot of comedians are like,
or we're harder on ourselves.
well, that too, but it's also like, how dare you solicit opinions when God forbid, especially you're not a good comedian. What do you know? Like that. Like I've been times because I was being tactless. I went on my way to give a tag or an opinion to a comedian that I was friendly with, and I did think about it in the future afterwards. Oh, did I go out of my way to and do something completely tactless and rude? Because my intent is always
To be helpful.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's okay to go, hey, I came up with a tag. Would you like it? Like, I think that's fine.
Tags are usually appropriate. It's like when you say, especially if they bring up their set. Like,
Yeah.
But like, I want to be told by people that need to tell me that I suck. Like, how am I gonna fucking evolve?
Yeah, you like give me constructive criticism. Tell me what like I fucked up on. Could I do better? Yeah.
Exactly. I know comedy is subjective, so what they have to say might not match what you need.
Yeah, it's like take what you need, leave the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just want to be a good comic. That's all. I just want to be good at my craft.
Do you ever ask after your sets like,
Oh,
where
absolutely.
you go? Do you have any like thoughts on that or?
Yeah, especially if it's like an established comic, I'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, wait. Sometimes if they're an established comic and they're friendly enough with me, I'll go out of my way and ask them if they were in the room. I'll say, hey, did you listen to my set at all? Or if they said, oh, good job, I was like, oh, did you listen to the whole set? And or they'll say, yeah, some of it, or I came in at the end, but like I'll ask them, oh, what specifically did you think? Because I want to hear that. We need to hear this.
Yeah, we need to. It helps you grow. Give me just a second, because I think the batteries on this are
Absolutely.
dying. Okay, you guys, sorry that we had to pause the battery and it just mayhem ensued. I went through several batteries that were also
There were
dead.
Raccoons in the room. It was all
Yes,
good.
it was. We
They-
were attacked.
They were all like, oh my god.
They ate the batteries. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
All right, let's just jump back into it. We were
Patronizing.
Patronizing, yes. Let's circle back to that because, yeah, well, I'll kind of let you go with it because I imagine that when people hear, you have autism.
Yeah. I've rarely, thankfully, encountered this in recent years, but there have been a lot of times in the past where I'll tell someone I'm autistic and they'll be like, they almost take like, hey, buddy. I mean, not Steve Simone. They're like, Steve, that's his just general
That's just his
output.
thing. That was just my fear right now, by the way, you guys, is that I said something. I was like, thanks, buddy, to my roommate, buddy. And then I was like, I think that's how we remembered to come back to this because I was like, Josh, just so you know, I was calling him buddy. Is his name. I don't want you to think I was
looking down on him.
I wasn't being like, good job, pal. Like,
Exactly.
What the fuck.
I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, I jumped in. I'm
You're-
sorry.
No, you're all good. So yeah. I've had people, including like social workers, before I got into comedy, be like, "Hey, buddy, we're gonna do this." I'm like, "Don't fucking like."
Social workers?
I wouldn't get rude and say, "Don't fucking say." I would say, "Hey, listen, this is interesting." So one time, I was on the phone, a new social worker to introduce himself, talking on the phone, and he was kind of talking in a patronizing manner, and I very, very politely say, "Hey, listen, the way you're talking about, I just want you to know, if you can, please don't talk in that manner because it's very patronizing to me and feels insulting." And he got mad at me.
He got mad at you?
He got mad at me, so I did not have to go. They got me a different social worker after that. But like
He tried to shame you for speaking up for yourself?
well, yeah, and I did it in a even more polite manner than I just did now, and he flipped out on me. Like I know I will say, thinking back, I did say, please don't fucking talk to me like that. So I can understand if that's aggressive, but there's a certain not offensive, but strong anxiety that comes with that, because I'm a human being too. I'm not someone who's stuck working, not to sound classist or elitist or anything, I'm not someone stuck working just packing bags at a Ralph's.
Yeah, you're like,
or other
I
supermarket.
function. I'm not a child. I have the intellect of other functioning adults. Don't talk to me like I can't comprehend things.
Yeah, I'm stupid, but I'm not ignorant.
Yeah. Well, we're all ignorant over here. Yeah, no, it's like, don't you treat me like I'm not going to understand things.
Exactly.
Treat me like a human, like you would treat any other adult you encounter.
And we'll figure it out from there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, and maybe some of it is from their own ignorance about autism. They don't know, and then they hear that and they go, oh,
Hey, what the fuck, man?
and you're like, I gotta treat you different. You're like, no, I still understand everything that's happening.
Yeah. So unless you're Steve Simone, don't do that. Hey, buddy.
He says that to everyone. I
Hey,
love
buddy,
him.
let's get pizza.
I like that is how I picture Steve Simone. That exact sentence.
Oh, yeah.
Mwah. Well, I love Steve Simone.
Oh, yeah.
He's the greatest.
Yeah.
And now I want pizza.
Same. But yeah, going into another thing, fears. Because of the way I am, I live all my fears out loud.
So like anything that you go like, oh God, I hope that nobody thinks that this, or like, I wasn't rude to you, was I? It just kind of all filters out of your mouth.
Yeah, and it also comes from OCD and neuroses. So like, for instance, I've gone to movie theaters, and I've gone into the theater, and the movie hasn't started yet, so I go back out just because I'm paranoid that I went into the wrong theater at the wrong time, and I don't want people to think I'm trying to sneak
to get a free movie.
Exactly. Like
that's how good of a citizen you are. That you're like, I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to stick it into this corporation.
I'm pretty by the book. I'm not in a bad way, but I'm Mr. Nice Guy. I try.
Yeah, you'll wait for the crosswalk to change.
Oh yeah, whenever I see people do that thing where they start walking just before the light starts, I start freaking out because I'm scared they're gonna get hit by a car. My twin brother does that. But I also shout out my fears aloud. Like for instance, I'm not a pedophile, but I'm scared.
I'm not a pedophile, but
exactly. I know. Starting with that,
and you're like, this is the whole thing.
Yeah. By the way, it's a valid term. I know it. People's most experience. I'm not this, but like I'm not racist. But now, oh no, that makes you sound like a racist.
Well, I know, but that's also an ignorant thing as well that people do. That go to immediately go, well, you must be, or you wouldn't have said it like that. And it's like that is a stupid argument.
Exactly. People have to say something some way. Not everyone knows
You're
multiple
like,
ways.
but the next thing I'm going to say is
legitimately,
that, like,
I'm not.
a fear I have of it, or not. I'm not about to say a racist statement.
Exactly. In my case, I'm not a sex offender of any kind. But
Why does that fear pop up in your head? Because I've heard that from other men go, I express this fear.
Because the fear, first and foremost, the fear of hurting anyone, let alone a child. And what comes with pedophilia, where like if you do sexually harm a child, then they become a pedophile, like almost like a vampire. But it's true, like you're fucked up in the brain in that way now. But I've had like even little things that don't mean shit, so I'm fine. I get paranoid about. For instance, I don't do it as much as I used to, especially as a late teens, early 20s. I once in a while masturbate to anime porn.
And
so
yeah.
So here's the thing. In my mind, the figure of an adult woman is
giant boobies.
Exactly, curvaceous woman with big bosoms. I'm such a Jewish mother.
With big bosoms.
With bosoms.
So, like, the kind of fear is because anime porn skews to, like, it's a young woman with cartoonishly fake giant boobs.
But the problem isn't that at all.
Is it like if someone were to find my...
Well, sometimes you just watch it, especially since it's in another language, you don't know the plot. And Japan has this whole thing where like, I guess you're sexually legal at, like 16 or something, but like so plots and porns will be these women.
It's also like, this is a cartoon,
right? Well, but it's also,
do they go out of their way to be like, she's definitely not 18?
I don't pay attention if there's subtitles. I'm not exactly.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not really following the plot that much.
Exactly.
I'm just like, show me your cartoon tits.
Exactly. For me, it's what was I gonna say? Oh, so my mental figure of a mature adult woman is curvaceous with big bosoms, but the plot might be they're like high school girls.
Yeah.
So like there have been plenty of times I'm like, wait a second, have I just like masturbated to a child?
You're like, is this a crime?
Well, not just that, but did I just cross a human line?
That's just an interesting conversation in general because it's like
And they sell
a cartoon.
They sell on. They used to, at least on DVD, sell, but there's legal distributors that for money sell the same anime porn. I do it illegally because on like porn sites like Pornhub, because I don't fucking want to pay for porn.
Poor porn stars, and this is why their industry is tanking.
But I'm not using.
Pay for
I'm
your
using
porn,
the
everyone.
I'm using sites that aren't like. I'm using Pornhub, which is like, they're getting money somehow.
That's what everyone thinks, but that's on a different episode of the podcast.
Sorry. I don't
no, it's
I'm
okay.
not trying to steal money out of people's
No,
pockets.
you're not. I mean, it's so accessible. That's why there's so many people doing it. And it's not. I don't have
Exactly.
account.
I'm not if a woman asked me, if a porn star said, give me $2 right now as a tip, I'm like, yeah, okay.
You'd be like, all right, well, I've contributed to some things that may be in your profession, so I guess I'll give you some money for my.
So even like talking about what I just talked about just right now, the fear is also, if you talk about it enough, that must mean what's the phrase that goes with it? He who like cries about it too much or something must be it or something.
I don't know.
But the whole fear in that being,
if I voice my fear, people are going to assume that like it's an actual thing.
That I'm hiding something that like I know for sure in my heart of hearts in my life that I'm not a harmful human being. I'm not a gross human being. I'm not trying to be bad. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not trying to be bad to porn stars and take money away from them. Like now I feel horrible because
you're like, I'm a very big fan of what they do.
I am. I'm a lonely person. I have to stop jerking off for days just so I can get sensitivity back to my penis. For real. Like I will run out of cum.
At least you have the restraint to take a few days off.
And I hope this isn't forceful in what I'm saying. By saying what I've said just now on this podcast, can you affirm or relay back to me I'm not these I'm not these things?
Well, I mean, the Joshua I know, I assume isn't those things, but those are things that like I could never know about anybody. But no, you're not those things.
I know all I have is my word.
Yeah, and you are so overtly honest that I would trust anything you said. And I mean that in the best way.
Yeah.
And obviously anyone listening, like pedophile is a very jarring word. It's a very it's one of the most extreme case examples.
Right.
So what I will ask following that is, that was the thing we use, and you're like, this is the thing that has popped in my head. But does that sort of couple with, in given situations, because of the way your neuroses works, you sort of leap to, is it easy for you to leap to what is the worst case scenario of this situation?
Absolutely.
Just in general, that you're like, if you found an injured bird on the ground and you're like, oh my God, I need to help this bird. I hope someone doesn't come along and think I ripped this bird out of the sky and broke its wing. Yeah. Or I'm just trying to think of other examples.
Unfortunately coincidental situations where it looks like something but it's not.
Or that fear that like, it looks like I caused this problem, or that.
Can I tell you what got me sometimes irrationally gets me in these fears? Comedy movies where people end up in like what looks like something bad. So now that, especially like Farley Brother movies,
or like, no, I didn't do it, and
exactly like
there's a fire behind them, and they're like holding a match, and they're like, it's not what it looks like.
Exactly, like the beginning of There's Something About Mary, and the mom thinks he's masturbating to her, and he's like, no, it's not what you think, and then he zips his
balls up. Oh my God, I remember the beans and the Frank.
That's exactly beans. Frank's
How'd you get the beans above the Frank?
Frank and beans.
Oh gosh,
man, we've evolved as a society when it comes to how we display mentally retarded people.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
or in general,
that would not roll in. There's a couple shows now, and I meant to look them up.
It's a thing of its time.
But there's at least one or two shows that feature around a child or a family member having autism. Have you seen any of those shows?
Not that I know. And know what I hate about that? Whenever either someone with autism pops up on like America's Got Talent or American Idol, or someone on a popular TV show, their whole thing is they're autistic. like that's their relating point to me. They can't just say talk to me without thinking of a pop culture. It's a zeitgeist thing, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, that's what I was gonna ask. Is if people, in bringing that up, because I don't even know. Someone told me about a show a while ago, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta check it out, whatever." But I was gonna ask, like, do you get that a lot? Where like, do you know this autistic person, or like, have you seen this guy?
Yes, I've gotten that here and there. It's not too much, but enough where it's.
Or do people ever try to?
Enough.
Do people ever try to like introduce you to their other autistic friend, or
See, that was
or
something-
women with autism? They're like, oh, I know someone you could date.
I'm only here's. It's the same.
I just asked the same thing to Nate about albino people. I'm like, do people ever try to hook you up with other albinos?
Exactly. Everyone's like, you should go on autistic dating sites. I'm like, no.
They have autistic dating sites?
I say this on allegedly.
I guess they have a dating site for everything now.
Here's the thing. First and foremost, talking about dating other comedians essentially means I want to. I'm fine with dating other autistic people.
That's so funny.
But also, yeah, there is that where they think stick with your kind of things. Like
so interesting.
That one time, I talk about this on stage. I say this. I'm like, I don't want to necessarily date other autistic people because, including myself, all autistic people are ugly looking. We are not attractive. I know it's an exaggeration, but we're not an attractive people necessarily because we're kind of in that group of like, because I was my entire school years were special ed. So
interesting.
I get lumped in with people who are not necessarily physical. And I hope I don't sound like a shallow asshole, but like people who
don't look like the standard picture of what we consider attractive.
Exactly. They're low because they're low functioning in some way, whether it's autism or they have mental retardation or cerebral palsy. Like I'm not trying to be shitty to those people. You have to physically and mentally be attractive to someone. You can't just.
Well, yeah, no, you have to find. I mean, and there's different strokes for different folks, as they say. But like you do have to find like the person you're with. You have to be attracted to.
Right.
In a good relationship, I think you're attracted to them in all those ways, mentally, physically, emotionally. And it's not fair to another person to not be.
Right. I'm not. Yeah. It goes both ways. I'm not against.
I will say, like just so you know, I don't look at you and go like, look at that disabled, but like you look like a very standard.
Exactly.
Like, which I don't mean this in a condescending way to people who
This
present with disabilities.
Well,
no, and it's
no,
it's very different. Yeah. But like I have an autoimmune disease, and so I talk to other people who have them as well. Yeah. Where at some point, because like what I have, it's rheumatoid arthritis.
Right.
At some point, this could be as bad as it gets, and if I stay healthy, I don't like deteriorate more, but like at some point I risk having like physical deformities.
Yeah.
So it's just the difference of going, you don't present as someone who has,
I'm not being
issue.
A gross dude.
Yeah. And I don't look at you and go like, oh, he's disabled somehow, or differently abled. Excuse me. I know that I'm fucking up the terms, but
I don't mind. It's honestly,
because I think for a lot of times, like in my opinion, I don't think you can look at someone and know they have autism. Whereas like with other things, there are like genetic factors in it, like completely different.
I don't know. I can recognize some Asperger's people real easily.
Really?
It's always the neck beard.
The neck beard.
It's usually.
I just thought those were nerds.
They are. But
are you just talking about wrestling fans?
Don't remind me. I have a neck beard, and I am a pro wrestling fan. But I try to make sure I don't grow the neck beard out. Like I just.
It comes with depression or the seasons change.
I don't. Once again, I don't judge anyone who thinks I'm unattractive because of something. It's my fault. I work on myself physically and try to.
Well, people have what they're attracted to and what they're not, and it's different for everybody.
Exactly. Well, so once again, I'm not against dating other autistic people. Just because I relate to someone personally on that level doesn't mean I have to date.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that doesn't mean that's all I can date, or that I want to limit myself to that. Because also there's the whole thing of opposites attract. So you're like, maybe I want to talk to someone who has a different experience.
But also going back, not just personal relationships in terms of dating, romance, and sex, but also. I've had a friend who introduces me to someone who is lower functioning or lower functioning, but because I'm so nice, I'm going to always facilitate them just messaging me out of the blue.
Just people pleasing.
Exactly.
Or just for trying to, make sure that they feel like heard and.
Yeah, it's so nice to relate to another person that is higher functioning. I've had a friend do that, and I'm not trying to be shitty to that person who's messaging me. I don't want to talk to this person because I also sometimes.
Well, you could just you don't click with everybody.
Exactly. But it's also kind of a way of that going back to that patronizing thing, like, oh, because you have some kind of retardation, you can relate to retarded people.
You know what? And it's definitely, it's not the same, but people, I don't think I even realized that this was a thing that people might do to like someone with autism, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, even
until
high functioning.
when I publicly told people that I have rheumatoid arthritis, still people are like, I have a friend that got diagnosed with this. Can they talk to you? And I'm like, I'm not a doctor. What do you?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not going to tell them anything they can't read on the internet. No. That's what I want to be like. I can't help them.
Yeah, just because I have I'm autistic doesn't mean I can recommend the same doctor that gives me medication.
Yeah, and it is nice to like when you do meet someone who has been on a similar journey, having someone you can run stuff by or
absolutely.
Or discuss, how something worked for you versus didn't work for them. That's good, but it's like I don't want that to be for me. It's
right.
I imagine you don't want that to be
jive with.
Yeah, you're like I don't want that to be the point where you think like, oh, you'll get along with them because they also have autism. And you're like, what?
It's just all about how you interact. Like, for me, and by the way, I admittedly have an inferiority complex. So when I get hooked up with someone who's lower functioning, I think, do they think I'm...
You're like, is this how they see me?
Exactly. Because it's... I had a friend who I won't name who's like, I met this person here, be a friend with them online, and that means them messaging you whatever so they can talk to you. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to anyone online.
Basically. I mean, it's not just...
I just get stressed out.
But like, I hope I'm not coming off as an asshole. Like, oh, you think little of people who are lower functioning than you. Kinda, not really.
No, you're like it's just you just can't relate to them. So you're like I don't know
like
what you
expect
relate
me to them, but you're not them either.
Yeah, you're like, what do you expect this introduction to do?
Yeah, because they're an idiot means I'm an idiot too. So let's be friends. Like it's an automatic thing. It's kind of like that thing when your kid's like, oh, because you're friends with someone means, oh, your moms can be friends too.
Oh, God, that's a nightmare. I mean, I don't think I'll ever have children, but the horrifying idea that I would have to hang out the mother of someone just because my kid's friends with them.
Exactly. And my mother did that, and she became friends with people because I like if it works, it works, but it shouldn't be this thing. By the way, I hope I have not come off as a bad person.
You're not. You're just being honest.
Right. But I also recognize just because I'm honest doesn't mean it means I can get away with bad things.
No.
Right.
But it's okay to not. It's okay to not feel like I don't want the responsibility of having to be the sounding board for your friend who has a similar thing to me. Like that's
right. Or
you
less.
It's like I stress about this enough, and because of the way you are, you're like I worry about other people. Now this is just going to be a thing where I'm stressed about. Yeah. You're just adding stress, and I'm already so stressed.
Exactly. I want to relate to people who are like me, who are essentially higher functioning. Not even autistic people, just people in general.
Do you feel like
it makes me feel like a normal human being? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Like what is claimed to be normal? You know. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. Do you ever wonder in situations like that if the person they're trying to introduce you to maybe is just trying to do the same thing and they're
sure
they would like to talk to people who are more high functioning because they feel like someone does the same to them. So
I can understand that. Sometimes I'm inadvertently inconsiderate and not think that like, oh, they just want someone like me to talk to when I don't want to deal with them at all. Like I'm not trying to be a dickhead. It's simply, it's almost like, it's similar to, like for instance, there's another comedian in the crowd, Newark guy, but his stand-up's terrible and he comes off like an asshole and gets drunk a lot, and you're just diplomatically friendly, but you do like when there's other people around you want to talk to and they're being friendly, you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to move away. I need to go talk to
there's people that you're like, I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want to be a shithead and say like, I don't like you.
But it's like, there are a few people that, especially when they're drunk, I'm like, I don't want to deal with you projecting all your drunk issues onto.
Have you ever had a thing where someone is just a bad comic and you don't want to be friends with them because of that? Like, because there's something about it that like feels like would make for a bad friend somehow.
No.
So it's just me.
No, I get not wanting to. I mean, it's good, especially for like, it's good to hang out with people who you find funny because it sort of raises how you are.
Yeah,
I will say that most of my close friends happen to be people I find extremely funny.
Right.
Because I met them on shows and it just happened to go that way. But and I do think that took work for me to separate.
Right.
That like I can hang out with this person who's maybe not that funny and not. I think I used to have a fear that like people are going to see them on stage, have not seen me, and go like, well, they're friends. She must not be funny either.
Right.
Because I've seen them hanging out.
Right. For me, by the way, and I have many friends.
By the way, I think what you're saying, brother, is the more norm, and is more comedians are like, oh, I wish that I had seen their set before I started hanging out with them because I didn't know they were terrible.
Because there's something I can't read people great, but there's something, it feels indicative of their stand-up where they turn out to be not the best person to be around. But here's the thing, I recognize that as somewhat irrational, and also I'm more than willing to be in the wrong because I hope this doesn't sound like the whole, oh, I have black friends. It's I have
plenty of unfunny friends.
Exactly.
Well, no, here's
I don't judge them for it at all. But it's also me. My same fear goes to them in terms of I hope nobody thinks because I'm a bad comic that they don't want to hang around me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think
I hold myself in contempt as well.
Well, here's where I'll say I sort of agree with that theory of not wanting to hang out with a bad comedian or it being indicative of something else. People who are very unfunny and very confident, I'm like, that's a person I don't want to be around because there's something going on in your brain that is like reminiscent of like narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, see, that's what
like
I'm
when you don't have enough self-awareness. But people who maybe aren't that great but are like, that fucking sucked, or like, I'm who are just trying to get better and better, but they're like self-aware enough to go, I need to get better, or this could be better. But the people who suck and they're like, I fucking crushed. It's like, oh, you're delusional, and I don't know how far that extends into like where you just think that you're the king of the world, queen of the world.
Right.
And I've had friendships and like family relationships and even been in a relationship with someone who's like has a narcissistic personality type, like probably disorder or like coupled with borderline. Right. And it's, 100% on that. I'm like, stay away from me.
Right. One of my fears, including things like pedophilia and the like, is I'm scared of people seeing me as arrogant or narcissistic. I don't put my values on others and say like, oh, if you're arrogant or narcissistic, you can still be a good person and be friends with them and everything. But like, for instance, I have a friend. He's not narcissistic, but I have a friend who's very close to me, who's a fellow comedian, and I've never seen him do a good set. He's great at producing things, but he's cheesy in the worst way, and he tries to make jokes when we're just plainly hanging out, not talking about any comedy thing. And there's this sort of, I'm not going to tell him my feelings until he has to ask for himself, because I'm not just going to,
if you want to know, I'll tell you, but I'm not just going to throw that on you.
Exactly. Once again, I don't value this goes into my own fear of people thinking I'm arrogant and narcissistic. I don't value my opinion so much that I think
I need to tell you.
Exactly. Like, I don't necessarily put or at all put my problems on others. I'm just trying to do my best to bode well with as many people as I can in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's very relatable, and I feel the same way. Whereas, like, if somebody asks me for my opinion on something, like, I can't lie to them. So there are times where, like, boy, there have been people who have been like, what'd you think of that? And in my brain, I'm like, God, I wish that you would have just never asked me what I thought of that. Because
the worst is when they ask.
Because then it's like trying to find a way to be like, I thought you were really confident up there. The writing could use a little work. Right. And here's the difference to me in like how I think you can know that you're not. I mean, anyone wanting to perform, in theory, everyone says you have like a little bit of like, look at me.
You have the id. That's what it is.
Yeah. It is? I thought it was the ego.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The ego. You essentially have the id of ego, but you don't. You're not. Doesn't mean you're egotistical.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like I don't think a truly narcissistic person would worry if they were a narcissistic.
Right.
They wouldn't be worried about being perceived that way because they'd be like, I'm amazing.
Right,
and if you were to go like, actually, I think that maybe you have a narcissistic personality disorder to a narcissistic person, they'd go like, I think you're negative and you have low self-worth and you're projecting. I don't know. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that.
Trust me, as a Jewish person, I project. As a Jewish mother, I project.
Oh, I mean, yes. Well, let's talk about that a little.
Well, just going back just quickly, though. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
Fuck. It was about narcissism. It was about... Fuck, it was really important to me, and I can't remember now. Let's just go forward.
All right, if it pops up,
just
let me know.
Yeah.
No big deal. So you had mentioned being misdiagnosed.
Yes.
At what age were you diagnosed with...
Asperger's.
You said, well, no, for like ADHD. Well, what age were your parents like, there's something going on?
Extremely young. I guess the problems were noticeable right after toddler.
Maybe like when you started going to school and stuff?
Just about, maybe a little younger than that. And my parents, this is like late 80s, early 90s in New Jersey, and they didn't know better. And my parents didn't know better. They were just desperate to help me, which is great because they've
wanted help.
Done that for their children. They're good parents in that way, but they believe what a doctor said. And who are they to say, I want a second opinion?
So, like, it's the doctor. He knows what he's doing. He's a doctor.
I don't know, like, the real timeline going that far back, but it was very young as far as I remember, like before school, like right before going to preschool.
Okay.
And I've taken meds, all kinds of meds.
Like Ritalin and all that stuff.
Exactly. Trying different things out. And then there was things like, even the doctor was fine with me eating the pills instead of taking them, and that apparently fucks with the meds.
Oh, they go into your system differently.
Exactly, and thus don't work fully.
Yeah, the like half-life and stuff changes.
Yeah. It was only like a couple years before we moved that my parents finally forced taking my meds via putting it on my tongue and swallowing it via water.
Oh yeah, so swallowing pills was a really hard thing for me.
It was.
I had so much trouble with that.
What my whole thing was, I was scared of choking, but it didn't matter whether I put the meds in yogurt and put it in my mouth. It was just this yucky thing to me.
Yeah, it was just gross.
Like the night I finally like worked on swallowing the pills with water, I like vomited a lot because like it was so hard for me.
Here, be a little closer.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. That's me. You want to go like straight ahead. Yeah, no, I still sometimes gag and have pills come up.
Thank God that doesn't happen to me anymore. So it's not for decades.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So wait. So Asperger's diagnosis came at what age?
14.
And then having been told you had
13, like late 13, if not 14.
Okay. So between having been told for years you had ADHD and then having a doctor be like, actually, that's not what it is.
Well, I just felt alien because here's the thing.
Was that frustrating?
I didn't feel disillusioned by misdiagnosis. I felt disillusioned because the anxiety. The reason I needed to take the meds I mainly took is for my both depression, but also anti-anxiety because anxiety is that severe.
I can't think of something fucking worse than ADHD medicine for someone with anxiety.
Yeah.
Because then you just hyper-focus on the anxiety.
If there's anything worse for me, it's weed.
Oh, really?
The worst is weed heads always want you
to
to smoke weeds. But
have you tried this?
Exactly. Oh, you probably tried sativa. Try an indica. And I still have a horrible, horrible paranoid freak out.
Ugh. The worst.
People, and I should have done it more than a couple times because people were insistent, including my older sister who used to work in the marijuana industry.
So she's like, I can find the one that's right for you.
Exactly.
Everyone thinks they're an expert.
And it was just, you know what it made me feel like? Like lost intelligence, and I fucked with. And at one point, after the first couple of years of stand up, everyone was hanging out, and they were always saying to me, "Oh, I wonder what Meyrowitz is like on weed." And I'm like, "All right, get a camera. I'll smoke weed, and you can." So everyone will know now. So I don't.
So you can leave me alone about it.
And I should have done it, because afterwards it felt like my brain lost like stuff that made me like a good comic. Like it was. I mean,
it didn't, but
it might be psychosomatic. It might be a little psychosomatic of me. But
I mean, it might have gone away temporarily while you were high, but I promise. Other than maybe memory stuff.
I mean, it's to this day.
But if you do it occasionally, I can't say what your brain is
it's also
like.
the effect of me being a self-loather. So
I mean, that's not.
I have so many problems.
It's not an easy journey.
But yeah, I freak out loud about everything.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not. I like even right now, I'm upset at myself. Like there are two things I want to go over. So something I already went over, like because I brought up the pedophile thing.
Yeah.
Now I'm all paranoid about it's just one time I was on Red Band's podcast, the one he used to do at the Ice House.
Oh yeah.
And apropos of fucking nothing, I just was in my head, and the fear was so real. I just started yelling out live on air, "I'm not a pedophile. I'm not a pedophile." And Keith Carey's like, "Yeah, Josh, we know."
Yeah, you're like, we know.
If someone like looks back to Ice House Chronicles or whatever, but like it just came out of nowhere. And I'm glad people understand and know I'm not any kind of bad person, let alone a sex offender. But and I know I'm going in circles on this podcast as well. But the second thing is that I haven't talked about is, oh no, I forgot it. Fuck. I hate. This is why.
It's okay. It's a podcast. It's a conversation. I forget things all the time. So.
Yeah. It was that, and then
something about meds, diagnosis, maybe.
Right. It might have been that. Shit. Fuck. I'm the worst.
You're not the worst. You're human. We all forget.
Yeah. But like this happens even when I do stand up. Like.
Oh, I will be in the middle of a bit I've done for years and go, I don't know what comes next.
Yeah.
And then I just have to like try to fake my way through it and be like, I'll just transition to something else.
Well, I do make use of my ability to not lie on stage. I do a thing, and we're trying to turn it into a podcast itself called Josh Meyrowitz Can't Lie. So people can call in live on air and literally ask me about anything, and I'll answer it. Like the only things obviously I can't tell are like what's my I can't tell you my social security number or like a common sensible white lie I'll use. But other than that, I can't lie.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is how it is off stage. Like it's not like something put on.
Yeah. That's good. I mean,
yeah.
Of course.
I feel like I'm going in circles a little bit.
No, it's okay. Let me get us back on track. So you were diagnosed at 13. When you heard 13, 14-ish.
Right.
Did you have any particular feelings when the doctors said that you had autism?
That's right. The alien. Okay, so this goes with what you're asking. I didn't feel any different because I was so fucked up from the anxiety.
Okay.
That like I had no other way about it. I felt like I would say to the doctor, I feel like an alien. Like I just nothing felt right. No matter what, if the medication was now working, now I was on better medication. It's just I had a hard time in school. I couldn't sit still. The way I graduated high school, and I ended up the last like 3 years in a continuation high school. It was funny. I was the only one there because of a mental disability, not because I was in
like a crime.
I was never in prison or got arrested at all.
Is that scary being around people?
No, because they were actually pretty good people.
Yeah, they had just fucked up somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. They were. I made like
my little brother went to continuation school.
Like maybe one friend that I still talk to this day. So like no, there was an understanding. Like I only encountered like bullies here and there. It's funny, like, what was I gonna say? But yeah, I felt weird. Like it was, even before this was up until stand up, I struggled with myself so hard because everything was hitting me weird.
Yeah.
Even when the medication was right, it was hitting me weird. I got into really bad mental situations, including and I talk about this on almost every podcast I've been on too, where I became like, my sister convinced me, Mom and Dad have always been wrong. Get off your meds. And
oh God, weed heads.
Yeah. And guess what? It made me become so anxious. I became physically violent towards my parents.
Oh no, that's scary.
Yeah, and like my parents have more than forgiven me, but it's something I live in all the time.
It's always in your brain.
The idea that I was physically abusive towards my mother, and like.
And that was like you went off the meds.
Yeah. Like it was a situation where, like, I got so violent. I pushed my dad down, and he's like, "If you don't take your meds right now, I'm calling the police." And I had a frame of mind like, I don't want to go to jail or prison. I'm not, because the crux of my whole psychotics even is, and my psyche in general is, I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person. So anything that I felt they were treating me badly, that meant I was a bad person. So I freaked out and became
And you weren't
abusive.
on your meds, so you're like just...
Yeah, because I was unhinged from not being on my meds.
Yeah, so it's like all those things are more magnified, louder.
Exactly. So I freaked, so it allowed me to finally take the meds. And I've done everything I can to sort of make things right with them, not just them, but myself. And
well, yeah, you got to forgive yourself too. I say that as someone who knows that it's like, haha, okay, yeah, forgive myself, sure.
I basically live with it, but because, and my parents, thank God I was born to them, more than loving, desperate to help me no matter what.
They sound wonderful.
They are. They just it eats at me, because I know nobody's perfect, and these are things that formed me to become an even better person afterwards too.
Yeah.
It's like a superhero origin where you did something bad or did something, and you learn with great power comes great responsibility.
Like,
in my case, with great disability comes more more control, learning of control. I fucked it up, but you get
I get it. Yeah, I like it.
My whole thing in my head to this day lives around, I'm a good person, not a bad person. I don't do bad person things. If I do, that means... if I've talked to somebody and I feel I've done badly by them,
like
start freaking out. I start freaking out inside, because not at them, because once again, I'm practically religious with my meds. I never want to go back.
Do you ever miss them?
No.
So you're very organized about that?
Once, the worst I ever do is once in a while I'll forget to take my evening or morning meds, but I always take one or the other, even in that one day.
How do you organize that? Do you have like a calendar or like alerts?
When I wake up in the morning, at like 7 and 8 in the morning at the very least, I take my morning meds. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Around somewhere between 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. is when I take my evening meds.
Okay.
Like, I have a system.
Okay, yeah, because I had a thing when I was on daily prescription, and even now, like just yesterday, this is obviously not anything of the same caliber. I had a migraine. Boo-hoo.
Right. No, that's not.
I mean, they're vicious, but like
you're allowed to boo-hoo.
But at some point, I went to the cabinet to get aspirin.
Right.
And I was like, did I just take an aspirin?
Yeah, you don't want to die.
Yeah. So do you ever worry? Did I already take my meds?
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'm a very forgetful person. Like it's never malicious. I'm just. Here's a fun thing about my forgetfulness. I can only remember my brother's birthday because he's my twin, so it's the same day.
Twin. That's so
I
funny.
Can't remember my sister's birthday and my parents' birthday. That I don't mind being reminded. It's once again very not malicious. I just can't remember anybody's thing.
Yeah, I very rarely remember birthdays. I have to save them in my phone.
Yeah. When I have bookings, I put them on my the note. You don't have to post a literal piece of paper on your laptop's around its screen. There's a notepad app on your thing on your laptop. So I write everything down there.
Yeah,
the date
I do
and the
Google
time.
Calendar. And then I have alerts go off an hour before in case I've forgotten the day of.
See, I don't do that because my anxiety is so strong I don't drive. So I take a special needs taxi places, and you have to schedule it the day before every time. You can't schedule it the same day. So you can't have it you can't schedule it for the day before to remind you because it works on its own time. It feels like.
Yeah, that's like we'll be there when we get there. They're like
they're
like the cable guy.
Yeah, I'll tell you when I tell you when it's time. I'm like, so having it on something that's always in front of me is important.
That is important. There were two things I wanted to ask. I'm trying to think of
solidarity. We can't remember things we feel is important.
Okay, so you mentioned before that you were in a lot of special ed classes, programs.
I was always in special ed.
How did that make you feel as someone who, because I don't know, depending on where you went, because I worked with special needs children, and it was very inclusive in that. Well, I worked in two different environments. In high school, though, when I was a class volunteer, it was just anyone with special needs in a class. And there's such an array of what special ed covers that I wonder if were you ever in situations where you felt like, okay, yeah, I get that you think I need to be in a separate class, but I don't fit in with this class either.
All right, so I've talked about this on other
like maybe if everyone else was like severely or very low functioning or anything like that.
Goes back to what I said earlier about I felt alien. I didn't know how to feel, so I never had a frame of mind to be like, I don't need to be in this class. I'm smarter than this. No, I had no idea. I was just taking everything. This is not the best term, but taking things in stride.
Yeah, you're just like this is what they put me here. This is where I'm supposed to be.
I was trusting. The worst is, and once again, I've talked about this on many other podcasts, was I had a situation where I went to this middle school. This was right before we moved to California. I went there, and this was also another crux. This was the crux of how my parents finding out I needed to be re-diagnosed.
Yeah.
So
because you were at this point, they still called it ADHD, is what they thought you had.
Yes, I was misdiagnosed. But I went to this middle school, and even whether it was they would put me in mainstream classes. They would think I was smart enough for those, but I was mostly, and it didn't matter if I was in special ed or in the mainstream classes. The teachers were bullies. Like, they were good teachers, but didn't excuse it's funny, I didn't have a lot of kids my age that bullied me at all, but it was the teachers. The teachers were so vile.
Unforgiving of the fact that maybe you needed accommodations or
exactly. They wouldn't accommodate me. They were good teachers, but it didn't mean how they went about things was good. One of the prime examples was when they put me in a mainstream history class, and I struggled. Yeah. I had a horrible time at it just because of course I did. This is why I'm in special ed to begin with. And the teacher one day, she's like, stay after class. I'm like, okay. She brings me and another same special ed kid that's in the same class. She takes him aside, where she's sitting and she points to him and she's like, why can't you be him?
What?
Why can't you be like him? She was practically screaming at me, and I was crying. And she's like, oh, don't cry. Don't crocodile tears. I was really crying.
Oh, wow.
It was horrible. And back then, I didn't know how to deal with anger or anything. I was so fucked up mentally from this that one day, 3-4 days before I graduated from school and would never have to deal with them again. Yeah. Just apropos of nothing, apropos of the fact that they were treating me like this. But in I was just sitting during a spelling bee in our class, and all of a sudden I just yelled out loud, really upset, if I had a gun, I'd shoot you all. This was 2 years prior to Columbine.
Thank God.
So yeah, I would have had worse treatment but I was just upset. I didn't know I didn't mean it at all. I was just upset. And I was crying, telling this to the principal, but it wasn't crying because I got in trouble. It was crying because I didn't understand why they were upset. I mean, I understood, but I didn't understand. The school psychologist was terrible at her job, even before this. And I'm telling my parents why this was happening. It finally came to this time where it was almost like someone coming up to you asking you for criticism, I didn't know to tell them these bad things were happening to me until
you were like just exploding
in the situation where they were talking to me about what I just said. My parents
I didn't know I had an option to give feedback about anyone.
There was no option to be near a gun, nor was I, even if I did. No, I wasn't a violent person.
But it's like you have all these like
it's still a violent claim.
Like very misunderstood, and then
extremely.
And a middle school child's brain, we're all
still developing.
Yeah, and that's there. There was research done that says in that like middle school, young high school age, parts of your brain, because it's growing in like certain ways. Literally, parts of your brain, like the hippocampus, I think, like shut down, and it's
right.
it's like refurbishing. It's basically like your brain's like, we're getting a remodel, but there's like the rational parts of your brain that like calm you down or tell you to like think about this logically.
Right.
Those like kind of shut off anyways, and then coupled with you have this undiagnosed or misdiagnosed thing, so you're on the wrong medication, which for all anyone knows was exacerbating the anxiety and
supposedly they did.
Yeah, and then to have teachers talk to you like that, or just they don't understand.
Even
so now
in
they're
special
going,
ed, yeah.
I saw a little bit of that I was just a teacher's aide in high school, but there was a couple teachers where they were so harsh with some of the students, and I was like, I don't know what your training is that like you think that you're supposed to talk to this person like if they're not understanding the direction, why do you think like screaming at them is going to help?
Yeah. And I mean, that was just, thankfully, when it comes to screaming, one situation that was rare in terms of them yelling at me for absurd, horrible, misunderstood reason.
Yeah.
But with everyone else, I wouldn't say it was subtle because I couldn't read subtlety especially back then. It felt blatantly, in a sense, mentally abusive.
Yeah. Did you ever feel like you were maybe struggling in classes, and because of
I was always struggling.
Well, yeah. And do you think did you ever feel like you were being sort of punished just because you didn't understand how to like function within the classroom, or
there was a little
or
bit
because of that struggle?
Even though it was a better situation, it was a little bit like that in 1st to 4th grade.
Okay.
In special ed, teachers, I hope still do this. Whenever you did something wrong, you have to put your name on the board, and it makes you have to be last in line when we go to lunch or
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I even talked to that teacher in recent years because she moved to California too, and I told you that really did harm me, and she's like, that was a good thing that we taught. I'm like, you believe that, but it wasn't. It only I understand punishment.
Like if you're misbehaving, something has to be
right. But they were doing it for. It was under their perception as teachers of what should be social skills, and I get that. But when outside of out loud, you did something wrong, but they would also yell at you or tell you not to cry. As if there was a little bit of that suck it up kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like that's horrible. People.
Kids should be taught to like express some emotion.
All emotion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, where everyone's just like lock it up, no crying, pull up your bootstraps.
Just as much.
I don't know if
they right out of my mouth. Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that because that's
hopefully
the household I grew up in, and like where it was just like. Deal with it.
Those kind of assholes who talk about bootstraps. I mean, they're the same kind that voted for Trump, but it's the same kind that don't understand why there's like the participation trophy. Like I can understand the proliferation of it being bad, but the reasoning behind it isn't the worst. It's more for people like that were in special ed that they're not gonna be capable of the success in like sports that the other. So just feeling some kind of accomplishment, like you made some kind of progress personally. That's what the participation trophies are for.
Yeah.
But they think, they do that for everyone, even the kids who.
And it's gonna make us. No one's gonna be competitive. We're gonna get weak.
Fucking a bunch of monsters we've become as a society. I want to say just something quick back, for people who may have not heard me talk about it before. So, going back to the death threat in the middle school.
Death threat.
If I had a gun, I'd shoot you.
Oh
up.
yeah, I thought you. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't mean it at all. I was just upset. I didn't know how to deal with my anger.
Well, you didn't know. I mean, it's also.
Right. So, sorry, I didn't mean.
No. Go ahead. I mean, it's overwhelming emotions.
The conclusion to that was they didn't expel me. There was some understanding of it, so they let me graduate 3 days early since it was. But they wanted to have a court hearing, like a
legit,
a legitimate, like a real court. So. My parents, we lawyered up, and all I had to do was tell the lawyer exactly what I experienced and went through. I never had to see a day in court. The lawyer reiterated what I said, and they cut it off right there. Meaning, there's like, oh yes, they're in the wrong. I really am in the right. Outside of my outburst. So,
but it's like it wasn't out of nowhere. It was like, okay.
Right.
Well,
they put me in the situation that caused this. So I didn't have to ever see a day in court, and they even offered countersuing them.
Oh, wow.
But we didn't. We were moving to California.
You're like, we're just leaving. It's fine.
Exactly. We're leaving.
We just don't want our son to be expelled.
I wasn't. It wasn't about
or in trouble.
Me.
Yeah.
In trouble. Yeah. They didn't expel me. They let once again.
You're like, he's not a bad kid.
Yeah,
we don't want this on his record.
Well, this was a real court hearing they were doing. This is not. Like some sort of school court.
No, it was like, was this like a legit threat type of thing?
Exactly. But I didn't ever have to see a day in court because he just reiterated, and they're like, yeah, you're Meyrowitz versus the state of New Jersey,
So funny.
But the best was my parents were like, after all this, they're like, you know what? Let's go over to George Washington, New York, and find him a doctor there to re-diagnose.
Oh, that's good. That
they should have done that from the beginning.
Yeah, but at least it was it's a big straw to break the camel's back. But at least they finally were like, you know what, something isn't right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this about both, dealing with like your outbursts and the way you were treated, and then also going back to teachers telling kids not to cry. I know from my understanding, and I mentioned this before I asked you about it. With autism comes sort of hypersensitivity.
Yes.
In the emotional realm, I feel like I have this theory that I've just made up in my head. I'm sure I'm the only one who's thought of something similar, but that when we learn the senses, like sight and hearing, I really feel like they should teach emotions as a sense, because I think sometimes it's not intentional for someone. Some people go like, why are you crying? Stop crying.
Right.
I think there are some people, the way that some people need glasses to see better, I think there are some people who just don't feel as deeply.
Right.
And because we're not taught that emotions are on a spectrum and some people are more sensitive,
right,
they genuinely have trouble comprehending of why someone would be so upset. This is not really.
To this day, I feel numbness and loneliness. And it's like that commercial or ad where he's like surrounded by family, surrounded by love, still feels lonely. Something like
bro.
Yeah, exactly. I suffer from practically manic depression.
I go through. I'm not gonna say the same thing. That's
right. Yeah, I'm not manic depressive, but I suffer something similar.
Yeah, where you cycle between.
You
feel a lot. You have high feelings.
Exactly, and it's very.
The highs are high and the lows are low.
Exactly, almost like bipolar, but it's almost numbing in itself as well.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I don't feel things the way like everyone else. Like my insecurities, I live out loud, but it's surprising and good. I'm insecure. This is true. I'm insecure about everything, not in a bad way in terms of I put my problems on others, but I'm insecure.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm secure enough is in my masculinity, meaning someone's calling me gay or something. Oh, who knows what? I'm okay.
You're I'm not. No part of me has an insecurity about that.
Exactly, because
you're I know enough about myself.
It's not even I know I'm straight. It's more there's nothing wrong with being gay.
Yeah, you're I don't care. That's not an insult.
Exactly. There's very few things I don't care about, and this is one of them. Oh, okay, I know who I am. I'm not gonna listen to someone being gross human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll wrap up on this.
Right.
You're Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a Jewish mom.
Yes.
And a lot of us know Jewish moms love their Jewish boys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, have you ever felt like with the autism having a diagnosis of something extra, did it ever feel like your mom, like, did you worry about her being too worried about you or anything? Or did you ever feel like, Mom, I got, like, was it hard for her to let go of, like, let you be an adult?
Oh, well,
that's a general thing.
Oh, absolutely. My mother was the only one upset when I moved out 3.5 years ago. She was very, you're my baby. You're supposed to be with me forever.
Oh.
She says that she said this, and I say this on stage, and it's great. She's like, this was back when I still lived with them. Your brother and sister moved out, but you still live with us. The doctor always said when you were born, I get to keep one.
Oh my God.
That's verbatim, yeah. Yeah. But like once I moved out, she's like, I don't feel comfortable with this. You were supposed to be with me forever. And like she's not just a mommy, but a mummy. Like
yeah.
I get when she dies, I'm buried with her.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, it felt like in their own ways, whether it was my mother out loud or my dad just seething, like my parents were equally worried just in their own ways.
Yeah.
And by worried, I mean very worried.
Yeah.
Once I said they were desperate to help me. They just wanted to help me so bad. Like they never abandoned me. They always gave me a chance.
Yeah.
I get always to this day, and they're the exact same way. So I'm definitely my parents' child, worrying about, I'm scared of taking advantage of them. I'm scared of taking advantage of everyone else.
Anyone, yeah.
And my mom's the same way. When I come over to figure out bills with her, like once a month, I visit them more than that usually, but.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it sound like I abandoned my parents like my twin brother did. He didn't abandon them. He still sees them. But
you still see them very frequently. Still a good
much.
Jewish boy
at
going
least
home.
At least once a month. It's only 20, 30 minutes away. It's not a bad drive. But what was I going to say is, when we're going over bills and everything and we're taking out money, and she's like, I hope we're not taking too much money away from you. I hope you're not, like, the feeling is mutual. Their anxiety helped teach my neuroses in a good way to be worried to not take advantage of other human beings.
Oh, well, that's good.
I mean, it's more of a taking the good with the bad kind of thing.
Yeah, you're like, well, there's pros to it.
Yeah, seeing the good in it, the positivity in it. I suppose I'm a very positive person, just despite my insane amount of neurosis.
Yeah, but you still have like a positive outlook.
Yeah, it's what keeps me alive. But the thing I was saying about depression and still feeling lonely, despite like my parents and my doctor always said, the more you socialize, the more anxious you're going to get. So that's just human nature. So for me, someone who's basically diagnosed with a horrible anxiety disorder, I'm thanks to stand-up comedy, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. These last 10 years have been a dream. At the same time, because of what I said, I'm the most miserable.
You're like, because I'm constantly interacting with people, and then I'm going over the interactions, and then
my perception gives way to so many things. There's a word starting with a P where I just constantly stuck in my own world, going over my encounters with people.
I don't know what that word is.
It's on the tip of my tongue, and I hate when this happens. But like it's not projecting because it has nothing to do with other people.
Yeah, that's the word that popped in my head, and I was like, it's not that.
No. I fixate.
Yeah. Okay. So you'll just, how was that interaction? Was it okay?
Yeah.
Which I think at least maybe it's just comics, but a little bit, everyone does it a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not a psychopath is like, hope that went well.
Yeah.
You just maybe do it a little more or get stuck in the loop of, well, I said this, what if they took it this way? Or what if and it's hard to let go of, what you meant. You can't worry about what they thought. If they thought something wrong, they should say it, but I can't let go of that. I can't do that either. In my mind, I want to be like, how people view me is not my problem. And I'm like, then why do I keep thinking about it?
Exactly. Nobody has an obligation to like me, but I said earlier, nobody has an obligation to like me, but like I don't want them to come away with their encounters from me saying I'm a real problem.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine anyone doing that.
Yeah. I hope I wasn't come off gross, rude, or any kind of
No, I
bad
think this was
thing.
very informative. I think it was just a cool look inside your brain. It was great.
It's always out there.
Where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Autistic Thunder, like thunder and lightning. Funny enough, every
great.
time I say that, when I think I pronounced the TH properly in thunder, but then they're like FUNDR. I'm like, is it me?
Oh, that's so interesting because, I wouldn't have thought that at all. But then also without maybe people seeing you face to face.
Right. So
they're trying to think maybe it's some sort of pun on something fun.
Yeah. I
that's
could.
interesting.
I never thought about that before, honestly. That's a good call. But yeah, it says AUTISTICTHUNDER on Instagram and Twitter, and Roast Battle I'm a part of. I've been a part of since
a resident since like the beginning.
Pretty much since this third day at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every Tuesday night, if you're visiting or living in the Los Angeles area, at the world famous Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard, every Tuesday night, 10:30. We also have it on what are the streaming apps?
Oh, the one with the P.
Periscope. There we go.
Periscope, yeah.
On Periscope, you can find it on there, and we have lots of fun. It's super offensive.
It's so fun. It's horribly offensive. It's the best. And Josh is such a fun part of the show.
Yeah.
You're like a staple. I can't. It's yeah.
And but most importantly, I'm a stand-up comic, so I post what I'm doing on there. I should be doing movie reviews soon with Ryan Dune, formerly of Vine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And working towards podcast Josh Meyrowitz Can't Lie. And I definitely have another pilot of a podcast for Death Squad possibly coming soon with this guy, William Montgomery. He's always in a shtick, so meaning he's always being a character. Meanwhile, I'm always real. So it's going to be called Meth Squad.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Red Band, he's got good ideas.
I guess so. I love you, Red Band.
Yeah, likewise.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Thank you so much, Josh, for sitting down and
thank you
letting
for
me
having
pick
me.
your brain. This was wonderful.
Hope I didn't talk over you too much.
You didn't. Not at all.
Thank you for having me, Jessica.
Always. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, there you go. All over the map with Josh Meyrowitz. He got real into some stuff. It was really cool just to hear someone just real honest pull out all their fears and their things and just an open book and honestly just the sweetest human. And we love him. I say we. I mean me, but also just beloved in the Los Angeles comedy scene. So it was such a delight getting to hang out with him and getting to know how he deals with that a little bit better, how he deals with living with autism and how he finds the humor in it. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please subscribe, rate, review on iTunes. If you haven't, share the podcast with your friends. Everyone's a little bit ignorant sometimes. Big thank you to John, G, and Kathy Terry, exclusive members of the League of Extraordinary Idiots on Patreon. You keep these episodes flowing, and honestly, you keep me sane. I'm excited to start all the new things with the Patreon, and I thoroughly enjoy all our banter on all the internet things. I mean, my God, do I hate the internet, but thank God for funny, fun people who make it better, because it's my whole life, it seems, lately. If you want to join the League of Extraordinary Idiots and be part of the fun, get our cool merch and get postcards from the road. Maybe become a Best Idiot Forever and get a subscription box. Little self-care, little self-love, little self-loathing, probably mixed all in one. Self-destruction. And even more content from me. Check out patreon.com/ignoranceisblessed. Follow Ignorance is Blessed on Instagram. It's @ignoranceisblessed. If you want to see faces to all the people I interview, I still need to get a photo from Nate and Josh. But yeah, we're also on Twitter, but I suck at it because I don't know. I've put all my energy into mine and dumbwits lately. Not that I was ever really good at the podcast. It's like, I don't know. What do I just put out? Should I just like tweet ignorant questions to the universe? Maybe that's a thing I can do to up the Twitter. I don't know. Anyway, please keep in mind that no guest is or claims to be a representative for every person who has a similar identity. They're just one person sharing their own experience and ideas to help us get a peek at how things look from their situated position in the world. If you have additional questions for Josh or any guest, you have a topic you'd like to hear covered, the best way to do that, join the Facebook group. Ignorance is #BlessedIdiots. Search for it on Facebook. Post it in there. You can also email me, ignoranceisblessedpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. No spaces, no hashtags, no dots. And I'll do my best to deliver. I'm going to interview a Mormon guy coming up, and I got a couple more that I want to get in there, but tell me what you want to know. Do you want to hear individual episodes where I just go on about a topic, about what I think something is, or my philosophy on something, or specific types of guests, be it professions? Do you want me to find a plumber? Do you want me to find I don't know. Just ask me and I'll find people to ask, you know? On that note, keep asking questions, because the more we ask, the more we learn, the more we know. And the more we know, the more we can look down on others who aren't as smart as we are. And isn't that the point? Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, and thanks for being patient with my ignorance. See you soon, idiots.